Hi everyone, this is Shelby, and this is going to be my final for EPSI 7210. Okay, so we will first start with going over my objectives. So I kind of broke my objectives up into kind of two different categories. And the first one's going to be kind of an external objective, and then the second one will be an internal objective. So basically, this first one has to do more with kind of my plan, taking what I've learned from this course and how I'm going to kind of use that knowledge to act upon the world, and kind of, use my new awareness in my surroundings with my colleagues and so on and so forth. And then my kind of internal, more objective is going to be how I'm going to, take what I've learned and take this new awareness and, seek out change and take action within myself. So anyway, so we'll start with, of course, objective one, which is my more external objective. So just to sum it up, I'm basically going to use my new awareness and understanding of systemic concerns related to diversity, equity, to challenge other systemic institutions and further explore the deficits in gifted education and, of course, just education in general. So I think this is, kind of, oops, sorry, didn't mean to move the screen. Um, so I think this, I'm sure a lot of us in this course can kind of relate with this, but I mean, this is just the idea, especially like going into this course, obviously I did have quite a bit of awareness of diversity, or equity challenges related to diversity and multicultural education and so on and so forth. I knew a lot of it, but it was really helpful to have so much literature on it, and so many great examples, and to listen to so many lectures, and to hear about things like, the U46 case, and then, to read so much stuff from Ford. It was just really beneficial to kind of read all of that and to collect all of that knowledge. And then also, I think, a lot of you are teachers or have teaching experience, and I don't have as much teaching experience. And what I plan to do with my PhD is not necessarily to end up in the classroom as a teacher, at least not in that role. So I think it was, I kind of maybe brought a different kind of perspective, and I really enjoyed listening to all of y'all's perspective, as most of you, have been teachers or are teachers right now. So I think it was really great to hear you guys' perspectives, and then also just the course, just reading and listening and learning about these equity challenges, specifically related to gifted education. That was just like very enlightening for me. As I mentioned, I think I knew a lot about these challenges, but in a more kind of broad or general sense, and even I would say even as like broad and general as like, I understand the systemic problems with that are pushed upon minority and underrepresented groups, as far as housing, education, and jobs and economics, and kind of all of those things. I do understand that, but I think it's so important to explore more of the fine ingrained areas of those, and exploring those challenges specifically with gifted education was very interesting. So I think using that new awareness of kind of just seeing this like aha moment, and learning all this stuff, definitely I want to use that awareness going forward to kind of further my understanding of how it relates to gifted education, and then even also just use that knowledge to explore the other kind of crevices and nuances of diversity and equity problem or challenges, in other areas besides just gifted education also. And then just kind of, a little bit how I want to do this, which is stuff we've talked about a lot, is definitely, I think we can't emphasize enough just the importance of training and multicultural education training and awareness in teachers and administration. I think that is just so, so, so important. And I definitely think that's a really important first step for kind of achieving this objective. And then I also really enjoyed when we kind of talked about how important it is also to get the community involved. So, it's of course really important to get parents involved, but I think, it's even we need to take it one step further and just kind of make it a whole community kind of support system. I love that idea about, community education and community training and community workshops. And I just think that's phenomenal. And I definitely think that's how, we can start working towards achieving this objective. So, moving on to my second objective, which is more of my internal goal. So, this is kind of just about me specifically and what, I hope to take this, the knowledge that I learned and, all the resources that I've gained and so on from this course, just to kind of further complete my own personal work. So my objective 2 is to use my new awareness and understanding of implicit bias in relation to giftedness specifically to further understand my own implicit biases related to either giftedness or other multicultural differences. So I think, this is just huge. I think especially if we want to achieve objective 1, we need to be, very honest and very understanding of our own implicit biases and our own understanding of diversity and multicultural education and so on and so forth. So I think this is hugely important and something that I just try to work on all the time anyway. But again, this course brought out so much nuance that I had not thought of before, specifically related to giftedness. And we kind of saw how, how giftedness is looked at by the community and like we saw it in the 60 Minutes report, and then also the Politics of Race and Culture by Morris, just kind of seeing how there seems to be this general consensus or perception by the general public that people of color have less ability on like a biological type of standpoint than white students. And I think that is just, of course, we know that that is just so not accurate. And I think it's so important to kind of understand how that is, might be implicit in ourselves so that way we can work towards kind of redefining and changing the framework that the community and that the general public is thinking with. Because we definitely want to kind of, redefine those things and switch that mindset in order to really make what I previously talked about, in order to make our training for teachers and administration and to make our community involvement in training, in order to, ramp that up and really make it better and just make it really effective, we really need to be affecting people's implicit biases. And I think that starts with understanding your own implicit biases. So I think, kind of reading about those things and just thinking about how that affects people and how that affects the community and how that affects gifted education and then the definition of giftedness, it just really made me definitely want to be sure that I'm always very aware of my own implicit biases. And again, I'm exploring those not just related to giftedness, but of course related to, other things too. So that is my objective 2. And then my plans for growth. So basically how I want to, use those 2 objectives. So of course, as far as training, I first, like I mentioned, you have to further your own training and your own understanding before you can reach out to better those around you. So, absolutely want to further my own education, training, and understanding of multicultural education and gifted education. I definitely want to keep taking classes like this. Again, I don't really have any teaching experience. And so it was very interesting, and my main focus is not in gifted education like at all either. So it was just really interesting to kind of see this through the lens of gifted education specifically, because I think it really opened up a window for me to kind of a lot of new types of thoughts that I had not thought of previously. So I think, further exploring that and further educating myself is super important. And then, of course, with that education and training, I hope that I can also bring about awareness to the people in my environment, my colleagues, other teachers, administration, researchers. I am very interested in politics, and I actually am hoping to take a more kind of political education role when I finish my PhD. So, absolutely affecting policy, like we talked about several times, is huge. Talking to politicians and talking to people, community people who are kind of more in that local government role is definitely important. And then just continue working to understand my own implicit biases and use empathy and understanding to empower students. Obviously, this is just hugely important, hopefully to everyone, but definitely to me. Something I talked about in discussions and stuff a lot um, this summer was just how important I think it is really to have empathy and to gain understanding of students and their backgrounds, and specifically with this, their ethnicity and their culture, and all of these things that really define who they are as a person is just so important to understand and have empathy for that. I think that is the best way to empower students. So do that, and then of course just setting clear goals to continue my own personal work and action toward improving equity challenges related to diversity and multicultural education. So I've also talked about a couple times, it's kind of been a theme for me just to talk about, my own personal work and my need to take action. I think sometimes this work can get just like really heavy, and it can also, I think there's so many challenges that it can be very overwhelming. So it's always a top priority of mine to just set really clear goals, so that way I know I am just constantly working to achieve them, and that helps me to not get overwhelmed by the situation. And then finally, just networking. So I kind of broke it into current and future. Since I'm not really in the classroom right now, I don't have an opportunity to see teachers and students as much, but I still can absolutely, spread awareness just in my environment at UGA with my colleagues, with my professors, and then the times that I do make it into the classroom and get to work with teachers when I'm doing research and students, I've absolutely, communicating all of this with them. Specifically, I work with Westside Middle School and just the Barrow County school system in general. So that will be hugely important. And then in the future, when I am, probably in classrooms a little more, and then hopefully working in, education politics, I will absolutely be communicating with politicians, with the school board, with administrators, and then again, of course, with colleagues and professors. So that is everything I have. Thanks, guys, so much for listening, and thanks for a great class, and I hope everyone has a great fall semester.